right, welcome back to week 3 of digital video communication. Today we are diving into one of the most important part of video production, lighting. Specifically, we will learn about the 3-point lighting setup that I did in the very first video, and how we can, or how you can, recreate this setup using everyday items in your dorm, in your house, or even outside with direct sunlight. Now, for our overall project for this week, I would love for you all to go to the dollar store and purchase a Bristol board, one of the thick Bristol boards, one of just like an inch or half-inch thick Bristol board, styrofoam style board. You want to get a black one and a white one, and you will use this to then play around with lighting. You can use the white board to bounce light off of and therefore light yourself, or you can use the black version to do what is called a neg fill, which is add more of a contrast to your shot. So before we even talk about the setup, let's talk about why light matters. Light sets the mood. It takes your video from looking average to professional, and it also directs the viewer's attention. When the lighting is poor, the audience notice right away. That's just one of those things. We notice when, if I was the audience watching your videos, we know when you're not using the right light. We know when white balance is off. We know when it's too exposed, overexposed. So everything is blown out. But the audience basically understands light as a way to keep your attention, but it also is a way to distract your viewers. And that's what you don't want. You don't want to take away from the message that you're trying to talk about. So good lighting doesn't just make your subjects visible, it can make your story stronger. Okay? Now, let's go into the 3-point lighting that we did in the first video. The 3-point light setup is one of the most widely used techniques in film and video production to date. It is one of those things that people use to properly communicate the mood, or give you the mood that they want you to feel, and it's made up of 3 lights: the key light, the fill light, and the accent or backlight. Each has its own role, and when you combine them, you can get depth, balance, and a natural look. Even though this is a professional technique, we'll see how you can pull it off with just one of the items that you already have, like a flashlight, the sunlight, the regular lights in the ceiling, the articles I told you to get from the dollar store, your cell phone light. Different lights that you already have. We are going to try to utilize what we have to convey the message that we want to get across. All right. And since we are here, let's talk about the 3-point lighting that I did in this video.
All right. So, I still got you here. I don't have my microphone on anymore, but I was breaking down the gear, and I wanted to show you what the light looks like without my key light on. Okay, so my key light was the big white light that's here, and that is no longer on. Okay, so this is my hair light and my fill light. Okay, so you saw what I look like. You can reference all the other videos. Now I'm going to turn off my fill light. Okay, this is the light that's left over, which is just the hair light. Okay, so this hair light is lighting this part here up and separating me from the background. Okay, so
the hair light is also called the backlight, and that is one of the things that I did not mention. So just to give you the reference of what we're talking about, I have a 4-light setup in this particular shot. I have the key light, the accent light, the hair light, aka the backlight, and I have the accent light all the way in the back.
Let me turn off the other lights in here. So, without the other lights, this is where this light actually comes into play. If I was standing here, about right here. See how that lights up my hair? You can't really see it up there, but you see that? That is where this light would come in to play, where it lights up my hair. Now, I'm standing up here, so you don't really see that brown on the top of my head, which that is what I wanted. I kind of wanted that slither right here on the side of my face.
And so that is what makes that light the hair light, also known as the backlight in this particular shot. The hair light is normally to add that separation from your background and also give you that halo look. However, it is also a backlight because it's normally a light that's behind you, which in this case, it was behind my actual setup. So it was the backlighting for this overall shot.
And this light here would go and light up this side of my face with that warm color. And then this light, when it turns on.
So that second light that I turned on just now, that would be your fill light. Okay. And so I will explain why I'm using or how I'm using the fill light in this particular setup here in a second.
It looks like this. Now, if you notice how washed out the background looks, it kind of looks a little dead, right? And so that was the reason of adding the accent lights in the back. Now, if you notice, I'm controlling the light completely. So to get my skin this color and everything. Now, granted, it's also the white balance on the cameras. I have to match them up to do exactly what we're seeing here.
Now, granted, if you notice how this video started off, I'm going to come right back to where we're at. But if you notice where the video started off, it was more on the orange, tungsten side of the color wheel, and this is the white balance that you see here. Okay, and so I want to convey a certain color palette that I wanted to use in this video, and that is why the video looks like this at the beginning with the lights that I have. Okay, I believe the backlight or the hair light was set to about 4200 Kelvin. And the fill light that I have in front of me, I think was at 5600 Kelvin, which gives me this orange looking color. And the reason why I did that is because my 200 watt light that I have here, okay, it is super bright. It is a 200 watt light, and it is roughly around, I believe, 4,000 Kelvin. And so when I say Kelvin, what I'm basically saying is the color temperature of the light. And we'll go into this in a little bit, but you have a color wheel for temperature, and you have orange or tungsten all the way to white, or more of a daylight. And the white light that you normally see, not necessarily a fluorescent, but a fluorescent would be a good kind of indicator of the white that I'm talking about. Okay, so being that the 200 watt light that I had on my face as my key light was so bright and it had that set color, I had to then set my white balance to a specific number, and then I had to change the lighting, my accent and my backlighting, to match the color I wanted, so that my skin wouldn't look washed out by the white light that was hitting me. I still wanted to look the color that I naturally am, and I still wanted my shirt to look red, and I wanted the background itself. If you look, my walls are white. So my white balance was to get the room as perfect as it would be without that white light on, and then compensate for the lighting of me being in that room as well.
Do exactly what we're seeing here. So this is kind of advanced. Since we already have a 3-light setup, I wanted to show you guys this. So if I were to turn off my fill light, this gives me that dark, moody shot that you normally would see on, Instagram videos and stuff like that.
Now, the dark, moody shot that we're talking about is the reason why I want you to buy the black Bristol board from the dollar store. That will give you that contrast right there, because if I had the black Bristol board and I was holding that up to the side of my face, it would basically give me more of a shadow to the shadowy part of my face right now. And vice versa, if I had the white Bristol board, it would actually bounce the light from the key light off of the Bristol board and then onto my face, just like a reflector would do.
So they're just using two lights, a hair light and a key light, or a halo light and a key light. Now, if you want to go a step further and like really get it more dramatic, I'll turn the hair light off.
Or the backlight.
Okay. Now, as you can see, now I'm just standing here, okay? Now, if I stand here, turn this way, you can see the light, the key light in my glasses. But in this shot here, you can kind of see on this side, you can see that triangle. That is called the Hollywood triangle or Hollywood lighting right there. You see the shadow on this side of my face where it's just like here, it goes up here and it comes over to that nose, that triangle there. That's the Hollywood lighting. So trying to get that Hollywood lighting there just with the one light is pretty easy. You just have to have your angles, right?
So that's going to be our project this week, is for you to play around with the lighting that you have, with the Bristol board that you have, in order to achieve Hollywood lighting. Now, granted, I am giving you free will. You can shoot whatever you want to shoot. I would go back to your week 1 project that you already did a storyboard for, and I would shoot that video as much as you possibly can. I would want you to shoot a 3 to 5 minute video and focus on Hollywood lighting, all right, or the Hollywood light that triangle, the Hollywood triangle, Hollywood lighting on your face. You can achieve that by just having one light source as I've shown you here. Now, granted, I want you to do 3 point lighting. However, you only need one particular light to do the 3-point lighting. You can use the Bristol boards to bounce the light and direct the light however you want it. That is the project, okay? So let's play.
Then if you turn on that fill light again, well, here, let's keep that off. This looks nice, I like it. Let's turn on the accent lights in the back.
So now turning on the accent light is literally just going to give me more accent or more dynamic in my shot.
Okay, so now the accent lights are on. As you can see, this is a shot or a color design or a lighting design that I would actually like. I don't like this shot as much, but this shot, oh yeah, I'm feeling this 100%. And again, I was going to do this, but I said, let's do a 3 light setup. And so that's where this came in, the fill light, because I wanted to add some brightness under here, okay? And so that's where the fill light comes in, and it lights up this side of my face. And then I wanted to separate myself from the background, and so that's where the hair light comes in.
Or the backlight comes in.
Now, I know it sounds like I'm just repeating myself over and over, but I actually am. This is the lighting that you would strive for. This gives you a perfect lighting right here. And if you notice, that wall is no longer just like a dead white anymore. It has some color to it, blending in with the color in the background. That's because of the hair light. I have it up, elevated, going forward. All right. That's all I got for you. Again, I apologize about the audio. I did not put the microphone back on. I know, but I just wanted to show you the 3-point light setup really quick before I continue to break it down.
Light. Accent light. And then I'm going to turn off all the lights. Okay, so the key light, the fill light, and the backlight, or your accent light, or your hair light, it can be multiple different things. It's more of taking the creative leaps however you want to do it. I showed you 4 different light setups in that clip, where I showed you the key light, which is the main light to light your scene, the fill light. And again, for the project, you don't have to film yourself. You can film something else. Like I'm giving you complete creative direction with this. All right. But you have your key light, which is your first light, your main light that is going to light your subject. You have your fill light, which is going to fill in with exactly what it is. It's going to fill in the rest of your shot or your scene. Okay. And this could be an additional light to add more even tone, even light to your face. Now you can use another light, but I really want to challenge you to use the Bristol board so you can understand how to bounce light. And you can see that when you're on set, you don't need to buy a $45 reflector just to bounce light, when you can go to the dollar store and get a $2 $2 Bristol board, which could be your reflector. Okay. And then you have your backlight, your accent light, your hair light, anything to basically separate you from your background, or to separate you and add more depth, more balance, and create more of a natural appearance. Okay. All right. So let's move on. We're going to talk about the key light. Now, the key light is your main light source. Like I've said, think of this as the star of the show. You usually place it about 45 degrees off the side of your subject's face. It defines the subject and creates shape. Now, remember, I just talked about the Hollywood triangle, the Hollywood lighting. Okay, it creates a shape. In Hollywood blockbuster movies, more than likely you will see this lighting being used a lot. It creates a shape. And so in your dorm, this could be a desk lamp. It can be a flashlight. It can even be the sunlight coming through the window. Remember, this light should be the strongest and most direct light to your subject, or to your face, or to whatever you are lighting at the moment. Okay. I would love for you all to do your first week's project and get that out, because remember, everything that you're making is going to contribute to your final project, or your film festival project. Okay, so let's go into the next one. The fill light. Next is the fill light. You have the key light, then you have the fill light. Its job is to soften the shadows that the key light creates. Now, if you notice, I use the fill light to brighten the other half of my face, to kind of give me that even lighting. However, it wasn't as bright, so it still left me with some shadow, some dark tones on the side of my face. It just wasn't as dramatic. So think about this. Without a fill, one side of your face might look way too dark. The fill is usually soft or softer, less intense than the key light. In your dorm, you can improvise this by bouncing your phone flashlight off the wall, using another lamp with a shade, or using the computer screen at full brightness. This could also be the white Bristol board to give you that even light. Or if you really want to get dramatic with your light, you can use the black Bristol board and add more depth into your shot. Don't think of light just being a white light. Okay, don't think of light as being something to brighten. Light is also darkness. And so that is why you're using the black Bristol board, because that darkness or that black light will add some kind of mood, some kind of contrast. It can be very moody. So you can have a bright key light, a moody fill light, and then you can have a backlight or an accent light to separate you from something, right? The key idea is don't match the strength of your key light. Keep it subtle and keep it soft, okay, or dramatic for the most part. So let's move into the accent light. So finally, the accent light, sometimes it's called the backlight or a hair light. This sits beside or behind the subject, usually a little bit higher up, and its job is to create separation from the subject. Let me rephrase that. Its job is to separate the subject from the background, right? If you have black hair and you're standing in front of a wall that has no light on it, so behind you looks dark and black, without having that hair light or that backlight to separate you from, or the back of you from the wall behind you, you would just blend in. So in your dorm, you can use string lights, a lamp placed behind you, or even in the hallway. You can use the hallway light shining in, from another room or your room. So be creative. All right, so let's look at this. Okay, we had we had a 3-light setup here, and we had our main key light right here. We had our backlight or our hair light right here. Right here where this microphone is, the boom mic, this is where I actually had my fill light. I did not have a boom mic. This was my fill. And then I had lights up here on the roof behind me, and then I had accent lights way back here. So notice the key light is about 45 degrees off of my face right here. And the opposite side is where I had my field light, which the intensity was much lower than this light, my key light. Again, my key light was 200 watts. My field light, I believe, was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was about 60 watt. And then my backlight was a 85 watt. Now, when you combine them, you can get an evenly lit subject with depth and dimension. So think of this as your blueprint for setting up your light. No matter what kind of gear you have available, this is what you want to try to achieve. A 45-degree light here, this will give you that Hollywood light on the side of your face. Doesn't matter which side of the face you want to put your key light on. I just chose to put it over here. And then you want to put your fill light on the opposite side, so this will balance out that light. You'll still get a little bit of shadow, and if you're not able to dim the light itself, the light source, you can put a shade over it, you can put a cloth over it, you can use the Bristol board right here. Let's just say you have this light shining, you can use the white Bristol board here to bounce this light right here off. Or you can bounce that light off the Bristol board and then onto your face. And so it'll be a softer, less intense light. And so it would still give you that dramatic Hollywood light look, Hollywood triangle. And then you have your backlight. And this is also another Bristol board. So you can either put a black one here, white back here, or you can put a white here and maybe put another white here, or put a light or something back here. Because if these two are adjacent from each other, basically this will pick up the light from this and bounce it directly back onto you. When you're filming outside, the sun can act as your key light. If you position your subject with the sun behind them, that gives you a natural backlight. Sometimes you might not like that, because if you notice the sun is super bright, especially if you're using your cell phone, you'll get that haze, or you'll get that light blur or a lens flare or something of that nature. So I showed you all how to click onto your cell phone and lower the brightness. So if you have the sun behind you, then you can do that, and then you can basically get that haze or that fuzz out of your shot. And then you can use the Bristol board again as your key light, and you would bounce the sunlight directly off of the Bristol board and onto your face. Boom, you have yourself a key light. And then you can use the black board on the other side of that white Bristol board, and then that would be your fill, which you can have a neg fill, or you can have two white boards and you can have an even light, which is pretty even. It's pretty easy to get an even light when you're using the sun as your backlight, because again, you can just bounce the sun right onto your face or onto your subject. Okay, so think about using, something like a notebook, a white t-shirt, the Bristol board that I was talking about, to bounce that light back onto the face. Think about it as maybe a fill. Maybe you don't want a bright key light. Maybe you don't want anything as a key light, and you want to keep it very subtle. And if you want to keep it subtle, you step further back away from your subject with your white Bristol board, and that will bounce the light from the sun onto your face, or your best friend's face, or your spouse, or your friends, whoever. But it will give you that creative use of light as the further you step back, because you're going to soften the light coming from the sun. And the closer you get to the subject, again, that's how powerful your key light is going to be. And it can be pretty blinding. So be mindful how you use lighting. And again, this is about proper lighting. Okay. Now, if we were in your dorm room, or we were in your apartment, or we were indoors somewhere, imagine you're filming in your room. That desk lamp is going to work perfectly as a key light, because you can put the camera behind the key light. And so now the camera is facing your face, so that desk lamp is lighting you up properly. And now you can actually soften that light and play around with the mood, okay? Because you can throw a white t-shirt or a red t-shirt, a red scarf or something over the lamp, or you can put a piece of tape over the light on your cell phone, and you can color it red, or you can color it blue. And so that'll change the light that is bouncing, onto your face. You can throw that onto the wall, and you can bounce those different colors off the wall, and then that will bounce onto your face. You can bounce it off the Bristol board. Let's just say you put the white Bristol board in front of you as well, and you can bounce that light, or a flashlight or something like that, off the Bristol board onto your face. Think about string lights. Put string lights behind your head, or position the lamp on a dresser so it shines from behind, and now you have your backlight. The point is you don't need to have a professional studio to get a 3-light setup. You don't need a professional studio to shoot film. You don't need a professional studio to create projects. You just need to think about your placement and the balance and the mood. Okay? So let's go now into our exercise. So for this week, your assignment is to create a 3-point light setup using items around your dorm or outside. I want you to record a 30 to 60 second clip of yourself or your subject, and I want you to send that to me by Thursday class. Okay? Notice this is a very simple project, and then we're going to go into the longer version of this project here in a second. But this is kind of your rough draft, so we can kind of go through and we'll add it into, I'm going to see if I can turn this project into more of a discussion so everybody can collaborate and talk about how we could either help your lighting setup, give you some pointers. But for the main part, I want you to record a 30 to 60 second clip of yourself showcasing that A, you got the Bristol board, B, you figured out how to do the 3-point light setup so that you can get that Hollywood light on your face. I want you to show 2 versions. First, I want you to show the normal light, the light that you have if you just walked into the room, and then I want you to show the creative 3-point light setup. Okay? This will help us myself, and everybody else see the difference of what you had to work with. All right, now here is the fun part. When you submit when you submit the final project on Monday, this is what I want you to showcase, okay? You'll need 3 things. First, you're gonna need to submit a short video, 1 to 3 minutes, and I want you to explain the before and after of what you did to change the lighting from the beginning to the end. Second, I want you to take a photo of your setup so that I can see what you did and how you set it up to get that lighting, because it's all about the fundamentals. This is literally what this class is about, is learning the rules so then you can go and break the rule and do whatever creative thing you want to do to tell your story. All right. And third, I want you to write a short paragraph explaining basically what you just talked about in the video, okay? Or what you showed in the video, but I want you to explain it. Write it out. I want you to tell me how you figured out where you wanted to put your key light, or basically why did you put your key light where you put it. I want you to talk about your fill light. What did you use for your fill light? And then I want you to talk about your accent lights. So what did you use as your backlight? What did you use as your accent light? What did you use as your hair light? Something of that nature. Now, I know this might seem daunting. However, you have this video to go back and watch over and over again. You also have the video from week 1 to go watch over again. And you've already created if you want to use your script and storyboard from your first video, you've already created most of this stuff, okay? So now it's just implementing the lights and the different lighting setup and being creative, all right? Now, it's up to you to film whatever you want. I'm giving you total creativity on this, so have fun, do what you want to do, but I'm giving you some pointers to get your brain moving, right? The juice is flowing. All right, so let's wrap it up. We talked about lighting. Lighting is a tool to help tell your story. Remember that lighting isn't just about making something visible. It's about telling a story. Sometimes you can make it more dramatic. Sometimes you can do a neg fill, which is a negative fill. So instead of adding light, you subtract light. And you subtract light with getting the black Bristol board. You can add light by getting the white Bristol board, which you can use as a bounce or a reflector. Okay, the 3-point light setup is the foundation of a good video, but it works just as well without professional gear and with professional gear or whatever is around you. Okay, so be creative, experiment. This is what this class is about, is to give you the opportunity to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work. You'll be surprised how good you are at communicating through video. Okay, I look forward to seeing what you guys pull together. Next, we will go into camera movements and shot planning and framing, which that will build on what we learned today with lighting, okay? Because after you learn your lighting, after you figure out how to place your light, now you have to figure out, how do I move my camera and move my light with the camera, or do I just keep my lights and move my camera around? Okay, so we're going to go into camera movement, shot planning, and framing. Okay, so we've already did shot list, we already did scripting, we've already talked about lighting, we talked about the fundamentals of camera. Now we want to go into the movement of camera. We want to talk about planning those shots, so now we can figure out, okay, it's not just about my storyboard of getting from point A to point B. It's about why am I choosing, or how am I choosing to get from point A to point B with my setup that I have? How am I going to frame that up? How am I going to showcase that in the footage? How is my light going to move? How is my camera going to move in order for me to tell the story properly? All right, guys, get to it. Thank you all for coming to class today, and I look forward to seeing let's go back. I look forward to seeing your 30 to 60 second clips of yourself or your subjects, just to showcase that you got the Hollywood lighting down. You got the 3-point light down. And then after that, we go into creating a full 1 to 3 minute short video. And then you're going to explain the before and the after. And then you're also going to write a paper about it, explaining your key light, the use of your key light, your fill light, and your accent light. Okay. This is more of a long form scripting. And then I need a picture of your setup. I would love a picture before and after. And I bid you adieu.